We're
Right on it.
Where do you want us on the side here?
Yeah. Mark and Gary and Paul.
Yeah.
How do you want to do this? You can stay at your seats if you want. That's fine. If you want to stay at your seats, that's good.
All right, we can certainly do that.
Try and group together, please.
Oh,
Jeez.
Just for now, like switch spots with Warren.
And you're gonna take a picture, and I didn't even bring a suit this thing.
I have to borrow warrant.
all right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me over to administer the oaths to the newly elected county commissioners. I know all three of you are incumbents, and do congratulate each of you on your new term of office. And thank you for having me this morning. Minnesota Statute Section 358.05 expressly provides in relevant part, oath of office. Every person elected or appointed to any public office, including every official commissioner or member of any public board or body, before transacting any of the business or exercising any privilege of such office, shall take and subscribe the oath defined in the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, Article 5, Section 6. Article 5, Section 6 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, relating to the executive branch of government, expressly provides in relevant part, oath of office of state officers. Each officer created by this article, before entering upon his or her duties, shall take an oath or affirmation to support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and to discharge faithfully the duties of his or her office to the best of his or her judgment and ability. Therefore, I'll ask you at this time to please raise your right hands and take an oath. Please state your name.
I, Paul Racer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully
and to discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of
and duties of the office of
Polk County Commissioner
Polk
Polk County Commissioner.
to the best of
To the best of
my judgment and ability.
my
my
judgment
judgment
and ability.
By the authority granted to me by the Constitution and laws of the state of Minnesota, but more importantly, by the power granted to me by the citizens of our great state, I hereby confirm that each of you are invested as a commissioner of Polk County. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Come forward and thank you. Here to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I have you guys just come up and sign? We'll just take it.
Excuse me, sir. Are you 18 years old?
No, no,
Need to see driver's license.
no. They're in heaven, I hope. Thank you. That was awesome. Betty, do we get a copy of that? Sure, that'd be awesome. Something I get to frame.
There you go.
I think you have to file it. I don't know, do you file with the county recorder or do you guys file with the Secretary of State?
I'll file it you.
There's actually a judge down in Hennepin that forgot to file this thing in the public records. Whoops, this one's already done. Okay.
Are you notarizing it or me?
Yeah, I can do that with the stamp here. Gary, if you want to jump in. The other one just go over there. And so then they had a big lawsuit about whether anything the judge had done was valid. They said it was, so they didn't want to redo it all. So there you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
again, congratulations. And
Thank you for coming.
good luck and have a good year.
We're gonna.
That's our plan. Okay, we'll call to order and we'll stand for our pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item is election of officers. And we'll be looking for nominations for chair.
I nominate Joan Lee
No,
for chairperson.
No.
I nominate Mark.
I'll second Mark.
Mark doesn't want it.
Price you pay.
I think I have to ask a couple of times here to make this official. Are there any other nominations?
I could make it really dicey and put you on the spot, and I could second Jones.
Stop it.
Are there any other nominations? For last time, is there any additional nominations? If not, we have two, Mr. Holy and Ms. Joan Lee.
I decline.
I decline.
It's your turn.
And some reasons, maybe?
It's Mark's turn.
I'm not going to argue because you guys are going to do the same thing to me coming up here, so I'm not going to get in the middle of it. And Warren's just smiling.
I'm not seasoned enough yet. I'm still the newbie.
Jeez.
I now bless you, seasons. And Joan, whatever you would need to be blessed for, we can do that too.
I don't know if we got enough blessings for that.
We're gonna have a paper ballot or
No.
No, we haven't in the past unless someone asks for that.
we have to vote?
We're going to vote right now. We have Mark and Joan. So all those in favor of Mark, say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I think we had a 3-2 vote. Although I don't know.
Didn't it be 3-2?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 3-2.
It was 3-2.
Yeah.
So we'll votes for Joan.
Aye.
Now it's 4-1. All right.
It's a
Well,
land.
congratulations, Mark. You will do a fine job, and I'll just finish vice chair, and we'll hand this over to you. So nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Joan.
Joan, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Any more nominations? If not, we will vote. All those in favor of Joan Lee for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Congratulations, Joan. And I'm going to switch seats here and
Want to do it now, or we can do it?
break. Okay, go ahead. But if you're comfortable from here, in case people get out of line.
You don't like my chair anyway.
No, I'd probably have to take my chair with me.
Please review, and I'll accept a motion of the approval of the agenda after review.
So moved.
Joan moves.
Second.
Gary second. All in favor of the agenda as posted? say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Moving on to the consent items, 24 of them in total. Please take a minute or two to, or a few seconds to review. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
Move to approve.
Warren
Second.
and Paul, all in favor of approving the consent items, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent items approved. Moving on to the county board issue form. We'll take number 1 first before we get into individual commissioners' reports. Approve resolution 25-04 designating delegates to the Association of Minnesota County and payment of those dues.
This is mainly now just a selection of your committees. We can leave them the same as you had. None of the 5 of you have changed, otherwise you can pick whichever committee you want to be on, and nothing precludes you from attending the committee anyway.
Right, because we can just keep the same ones and attend any ones we want anyway.
Right.
Mhm.
As much as anything, this informs AMC of who the appointed member is.
I was on environment. I believe Gary was on general
Correct.
government. Joan was on health
Mhm.
and
Public safety.
public safety. Who's on transportation then?
That must have been me. Yeah,
You?
I think that's the one I went to, right? I think so.
1, 2, 3, 4. There was
We're in
5.
a general. And, yeah.
I saw 6.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's the one I went to that day.
Say the same?
Yeah, just leave them the same.
Motion to that effect.
One second. Is there on the rural Minnesota rural? Is that
That
is it? That's not on this one.
No, that's separate.
That's fine.
That's a different entity.
I think the resolution also notes the voting delegates, which are the 5 of you, Hitch, myself, Sam, and Rich Sanders, if needed.
Okay.
And that was previously approved also.
Oh, that's last year's slate.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we can leave it that way.
That's how the resolution is written.
Motion to approve.
I so move.
Paul,
Second.
Warren second. All in favor of that resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution passed. Move on to the reports. Paul?
Geez, it's been a while. I missed the one, so I'm waiting to hear from you. I don't think I was at anything. I'm good. I didn't have any.
Good. Warren?
We had rural water, West Central. And I left on your Matt's a copy of the unapproved yet agreement.
And now it has to be entered into the record, and it wasn't really ready for that.
Oh,
What's that?
That it wasn't. It was a draft from the attorney
Right.
to that organization that wasn't ready for the packet.
Well, I didn't put it out for the
No, but
packet.
you put it on the table and you mentioned it, so it's now part of the record. So I'll give a copy to Sam.
Okay. Anyway, it amounts to what I've been proposing right from the beginning, that whichever district can serve somebody better, that's the way it'll happen. It doesn't, hardline any kind of a district. And I think that it's pretty much agreed by both sides at this point that that will be approved. But Marshall Polk,
That'll come back to us and
yeah,
When it's ready, it'll come back to you. I believe it's gonna go to the respective water district boards first.
anyway, that's the only meeting that I was involved in the last 2 weeks, whatever it's been.
Gary?
December 19th, Joan and I and Chuck had a negotiation meeting with Waste Management. And several items there that were addressed, and I believe that was going to go to the employees, and they did.
We've been informed that they voted yes, and we have it on the agenda for the board's approval.
So that is a very good thing, and that's the only meeting we had over the Christmas holiday.
Okay, Joan?
Yeah, like Gary mentioned that we had negotiations, and I think, and it was a good meeting, and I mean that the contract they voted on and agreed to was the initial tentative agreement that had been voted on previously. I think there was a lot of some employees not understanding the process of everything, and including like with health insurance and those type of things. And I think that, you know, it was a good discussion, a lot of information that was pushed out to them. And just we got, I don't know if West Polk do the Soil and Water, do they do a newsletter? Do you know?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I just got one from West Polk, and I think, you know, it's really done well, and you know, it has a lot of good information about things that they're doing, and like in this one here, they talked about how they do the checking the lake levels, and you know, it talked about like the invasive species. I mean, like the plants, not the aquatic ones that we talk a lot about, and just, you know, a lot of good information. I thought it was, you know, just really done well. Tomorrow at noon, I don't know if you had noticed an email from AMC that there's going to start like an hour long, like once a month of just different topics that are going on. So tomorrow from 12 to 1, Sarah and I and a couple other people are going to be doing a presentation on Narcan and opioids. So you had received an email earlier that you could register for it. So if you're, you know, interested to register for that and you know, join in and listen to our conversation. So that's it. Good holiday, and glad to be back again.
Okay. I had both the Marshall Middle River One Watershed and the Red Lake One Watershed on the same day at the same time. And I tried zooming in to the Red Lake and also to the Marshall Polk or Middle River Snake One Watershed at the same time, and it didn't work. And we've had this conflict previously where the meetings get set at the same time, and was discussed at the Red Lake to make sure they communicate. So even representatives from the DNR have a hard time making both meetings. So it previously we had one meeting, I believe it was in March, where they had Red Lake early in the morning, like 9 o'clock, and then Middle River Snake at 1 o'clock. And we'd like to get back to that format, but apparently one or the other had a conflict. But the Red Lake nothing really earth-shaking, just normal completion of the projects and kind of an overall view of budgetary status, so forth and so on. I did receive a couple troublesome phone calls prior to Christmas when I was sick there for a little bit. And I've spoken about this problem up in my district previously. Retired elderly people. The one gentleman that called me, he and his wife, she's needing elder care really bad, and they can't sell their property because their property is about 4 inches below the floodplain, and anybody that's looking at their property can't basically afford the $6,000 a year flood insurance and the mortgage on the property. They've even tried lowering the price to make it more accessible. And the other phone call I received, kind of the same situation, a bachelor wanting to move to town. He can't sell his property either. And I think it's time, and I've talked to Jake Schneider a little bit, the county's never approved the floodplain maps. Going back in whenever, I believe the newest one came out sometime after the 97 flood. And apparently Jake is in the process of restarting discussion with the DNR and the FEMA people to get this new map approved. Now, whether or not that has an effect on these properties, I believe the one that's within 4 inches, I've spoken to the engineer about that, Mr. Perbula. He feels that under the new map, this one party will be taken care of. They'll be able to do what they need to do to facilitate that sale to get them out of the floodplain, or not necessarily out of the floodplain, but get them out of the requirement of the lender requiring, with the mortgage in the state of Minnesota, you have to take out flood insurance if you're in that zone. What I'm recommending is these properties, matter of fact, the gentleman, he said, I'll walk away from my property. And it's going to come back on the county if he does truly walk away and goes tax forfeiture. The county's going to sit there with a property that they can't sell. And I think it behooves us to look at this properly and assist somehow. And maybe it's through legislative changes at the state level. And I've reached out to Steve Gander also. And somehow we got to get these potential sellers, buyers, some assistance somehow to be able to afford the flood insurance and also be able to keep those properties on the tax rolls. And unfortunately, a lot of people in my district, our farm is in the floodplain, and we can't sell the farm. Even if my son wants to buy the farm from my wife and I, he's going to be required to carry flood insurance. And it's a problem. And in my district, I would estimate probably 30% of my district is in the floodplain, and it's a huge problem. And I'll speak more on that later, but this is the third property I've been involved in discussion. And the first one I spoke to, Mr. Ross Pape, he ended up making some real big concessions to and took a financial hit to get his property sold. And these elderly people, they're probably going to end up being on the coffers of social services through elder care anyway. And anything we can do to help facilitate getting the properties.
Well, there's revised flood zones, and that's been on the books for a long time and just doesn't get any action. And I don't know if, is that federal or is that state?
From what Jake told me, it was state orientated, but Marshall has approved, Norman's approved, Red Lake's approved. Everybody around Polk County has approved. Now, why didn't it get approved years ago? I wasn't on the commission. I don't know. There was a public comment period or before that map. Now, did somebody say something in the public period? Where it caused FEMA and or the state to put it on pause? I don't know.
Well, I know it's been proposed, a change has been proposed for some time and it just has not gotten any action.
Yep. So hopefully, and I got an email from Jake response, whatever it was, the 18th, 19th of December thereafter of the phone calls. And he said the process was reinitiating again. So hopefully he can enlighten us when he does come in sometime in the future here. So
I can't imagine anybody offering any testimony that would be opposed to a change. What?
I don't know.
Can't imagine that.
My understanding is certain areas it's going to help certain areas, and other areas it's going to hurt. And I've heard conversation, some of the areas around Fertile could be pulled into the floodplain, and other areas that have not been in the floodplain previously would become part of the floodplain.
I know there's a number of properties south of East Grand Forks that are in the same situation.
Yep.
Number of properties.
Yep.
I haven't heard anything from anybody for a long time.
But you get up in my district, it's a problem. The floodplain is we're 7 miles from the river, and the floodplain is still another half mile east of our farm. We're about this far below, and it's basically our development in my district is stagnant because building permits. I put up 2 grain bins this year, and it cost me about $8,000 more with fill and extra concrete to get the elevation up high enough. And if we lose a building on our site, one of our sheds, because of wind or tornado or whatever, we can't rebuild unless we raise the elevation about 2 feet. There's a property that built a shed probably 8-10 years ago. To get into his shed, he had to raise the elevation 5 feet. And he's never had water in his farmyard, never. And that's...
Yeah, I have a nephew who's about 1.5 miles west of Angus, who is in the floodplain.
Yep.
When he built a house a few years ago, he had to raise the level of the floor to qualify.
Where do they think this water is coming from that makes it to that level?
There is flooding, and especially when it goes overland flooding up in my district, but
that makes sense.
A lot of the problem is ice jams and so forth and so on, because never during the summer, I mean, back in 19, when we had those excessive rains in the fall, things got out of hand. But normally during the summer, sections will fill up and they drain out. Like in our farmyard, we get water in the farmyard a little bit, but never close to the house, never in the buildings, never anywhere close to anything. And the one property, I'm very familiar with the one call I had, he's never had water in that particular section. Never. But yet, because of the map, he's in that zone, and they've itemized him, and trying to sell his property, the buyer has to take out the $6,000 a year flood insurance.
And how are you going to put Fertile in the flood zone when it's 100 feet higher than Crookston?
and then that's
I don't
some of the discussion that was going on at the time with the dike that was built around East Grand Forks. I asked one of the questions at the time because the Corps of Engineers, FEMA came out and said, we need to build the dike to this level. And I forget the elevation. And I said, okay, in the future, will that always maintain that dike elevation is the top of that floodplain? Oh no, this could change 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. Well, conditions are such, they're going to dictate the flooding, so forth and so on, not necessarily lines on a map. And I think it's time the state gets back to looking at what's going on versus
Mhm.
lines on a map. So,
Some of those elevations are ridiculous. There's a house that's right near the Bethany Church. It's sitting about 5 feet above
Yep.
everything else because it had to
Yep.
get above that flood level.
Yep.
And
Well-
it's just looks like a sore thumb out there
Yep.
because of that.
well, our two grain bins, we had to add 2 feet of concrete on the outer edge. And I think we hauled in 400 cubic yards of fill to build the pad up. And we've never, ever had water in that part of the yard. Never. So it's a problem. And the other side of it is even on fire insurance.
Mhm.
If you have a replacement cost, they don't cover building up the site. They'll replace the building, but if you don't replace the building, you don't get compensated. So I've had to change our fire insurance and wind insurance to an actual cost, depreciated cost on the building. And it's a game, and it's terrible. And people are going through it, and I promised I would mention it at this meeting, and that's where we're at. So hopefully Jake has some good news for us going forward here in January, February. But that's all I got. We'll move on. 8:30, public hearing, housing and incentive. Who's speaking to that?
Thank you. Me. Good morning.
That ain't your name. Me.
No, it sure not. Yeah, so today we have on the agenda the public hearing for the housing incentive abatement program for the city of East Grand Forks. That's the only housing abatement participation that we've received so far for this year. We haven't gotten the documentation from any other cities yet, so we're just proceeding with East Grand Forks.
I'll
I would
move,
I'll
motion
move-
to move,
I'll move
open
to
the hearing.
approve, yes.
Warren,
Second.
Joan seconds. All in favor opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting open.
We'll get
Go
there
ahead.
eventually.
This is the same as past years.
Correct.
Same percentages.
Same
dollar amounts.
percentages. This year there are 4 new properties in the city of East Grand Forks. So this is their 4 properties are in their first of 2 years. We've got that right here.
That number is down quite a few from.
Quite a few. I think last year we were closer to 10 in the first year of 2.
I'll move to approve.
Second,
Do we have to close the hearing?
For the hearing,
Hmm.
public comment on it.
Yeah, we gotta
wait for
Close the meeting.
public comment.
All right, sorry.
Excuse me. So as of last year there were 10 properties that are in their second year of the
Mhm.
refund this year. So.
And these are first year.
Correct.
And so they go on their first year once they're fully complete. So there could be other houses that weren't quite finished with construction yet that will be added. or we look
In
to
the
be added
future.
Next year or
Anybody from the public here to make comments?
And then the ones from last year, they're done? Or
They'll get another
they get-
abatement this year,
Yep. they get
and
one
then,
more.
yep, after
get
that
one more.
payout happens,
It's
then
a
they're
2-year
done.
It's
program.
a 2-year program.
One more time, hearing any comments from the public. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Motion,
So moved at 8:35.
Second.
Joan, Paul, all in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing closed. Motion, any further questions on the request?
Oh, you're up.
Hearing none.
To approve.
Warren,
Second.
Paul, all in favor of tax abatement for the city of East Grand Forks, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution 2505 passes.
Perfect.
It's been
Thank
a
you.
good program over the years. Crookston has one too, and I don't know, does Boston ever get into that one? I think
They
were-
have participated in the past, but over the last few years, we haven't received
Mhm.
any houses.
I
Which they're in
believe
there.
the city of Boston started doing
They
a
kind of,
different type of program,
yeah.
and so they have different incentives in the city of Boston that they've moved on past this particular.
But any city could do this in the county.
They could approach the board.
Yep.
And request participation in it.
Yeah, because I think like Boston, they do like money off on if you buy a lot.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, he was here when he was talking about that. The
Right.
mayor was when he was here.
Yeah, there's different programs that they do within the city. So
Correct.
Question, you heard me a little bit talking about properties in the floodplain. Is this something that could be used for helping potential buyers in the floodplain? And I'm not saying total tax abatement, but maybe 60% of the tax of,
In my opinion, it's something the board would have to look at. This is an incentive to build new properties, to
Oh, I
build
see.
new construction.
okay,
That's what these programs have been used for. But if the board wanted to look into something like that, I would have to check on the legalities and talk with Mr. Mr. Woodseth to find out if we could do anything like that. I'm not sure.
I would like you to check into that
Sure.
and be limited to maybe at 60% of the tax.
Sure.
And again, that would only
The
be
signature.
county portion of tax.
Right.
Correct.
Sounds like a good project. All right. Anything else for me?
Oh, you're good, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Moving on, Sheriff Tadman, reports.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you.
I said good
I
morning.
know you did, but I thought everybody else didn't hear me, so I thought I'd get in the speaker. Our reports for December, we documented services. For December 24th, we had paid services. Am I below?
you gotta scroll down.
There we go. Paid services of $4,317.60. It came into the sheriff's office, and our no charge services was $890.20. Our transports were excellent the month of December. We had only a total of 5,555 total miles, with a total number of 122 hours of deputy time on that. And as you can look there, it's the medical facility, 2 mental health. We had 403, and then our in-state and out-of-state were down, so that's great. 2,065, 1,476, and then other counties 656 and 133. But our federal transports, not as much as November, as you can see, but still 820, and it kind of averaged out to be right around that 1,000, if not more, for the year going through that. So
On line 20 on that page, that Wings Treatment Center, Is that
What 20 on what page?
on the page you have up?
Okay.
Not, I mean, this,
Oh, gotcha. Okay, let me go.
keep going. There. On line 20,
Mm-hmm.
or the December,
Yep.
or the 20th.
Uh-huh.
Litchfield, is that Minnesota, North Dakota?
That's Minnesota.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that a new facility?
No,
or-
that's probably one that was opened at the time and where we could only get in at the time. So we're waiting for different treatment centers to open up, and we're kind of on wherever they find a place, then we go from there. So
Okay.
yeah, but usually it's throughout the state of Minnesota, or if it's the juvenile down in Fargo,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Moorhead one. So
Because I mean, that one's, it's classified under the other, so that's what I was just wondering.
yeah, just because it's the treatment center on that. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay. So, and then our calls for service through the dispatch center for the month of December was 2,253 with our emergency 766, and then our non-emergency was 1,487 for dispatch center. And that's just for the wireless and calls by count. And then our calls for service for December 2024, it was a very calm month, even though if it was during the holidays. But we had assist agencies of 20, and then our civil process temps and services 175. Info coming in 6. We had motorist assist of 23. Our motor vehicle injury and accidents was a total of 23 with just the injury of 2. So a lot of vehicles in the ditch because of weather. But all in all, we had 7 reckless drivers, school patrol 70, and yeah, our suspicious activity in vehicles, we had 9. And then our traffic stops with that was 101 through the month. So it was with a total of only 645. So everything went well over the holidays, and it was really good. So that's all I have for the regular monthly report that was sent out. So the next agenda item, and then I also sent the November one, so we could tie into that if you wanted to look from the month past, and we'll start doing that if you wanted to check. And that's, I'm thinking my phone. So sorry. Next board agenda item is post and hire for open deputy position. We have a resignation from one of our sergeants. His last day was yesterday.
Which one is that?
That would be Sergeant Kyle Olson. And so.
Is that a retirement?
No, he went into the state patrol. I'm getting a motion for a for posting and hiring for the open deputy position, and then in-house will be filled the sergeant's position.
I'll move.
Second.
Warren, all in favor of motion as requested? Aye. Opposed? Request approved.
Okay, next agenda item is going to be post and hire for open telecommunicator position. We had a resignation of one of our telecommunicators, and also post and hire for that open position.
Motion again.
Is that a newer member or is a retirement or what's this?
Nope, this person left for a job over in Grand Forks.
Had that person been on the staff long?
Yeah, it's a veteran officer that came from Beltrami County, and
for several years.
They've been over there about a year with us for about a year.
Okay,
And then they, the person leaving is also advising that they'll help out with part-time, which is nice because to hire and train a part-timer in the dispatch center
It's difficult.
doesn't work. And so this person can come right in and fill in some shifts, which is going to be great until we get fully staffed again. So, yeah.
So you can keep them on the payroll.
Yes, that's what I'm also looking for because they'll just fill in different shifts and stuff like that. And as we're short, so we're down 2 right now for telecommunicators.
I so move.
Motion, Paul, move.
Second.
Gary, second. All in favor of approving a telecommunicator position?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Have to do, sorry.
Motion to approve posting and hiring approved.
We don't have to do anything with the part-time portion of it then.
No, that's just asked to go through and help out at the same time.
Okay.
It's, I already talked with HR and Chuck know that, we have the 2 open positions, but the person is willing to come in as needed and fill in. So, yeah, that would be fine. And then the third and final agenda I had is on discussion of the 2024 public safety funds. I'm going to pull that at this time. I don't think we have enough time to discuss all the different avenues of that and how the public safety is going to be using that, including retention and hiring. So I'm pulling that off at this time.
Are you looking at any tuition reimbursement program?
Looking at everything, you bet.
I'm in support of one of those.
Yep. The big thing with that is to be able to get that is what we're trying to find out and work through is you got to be hired with us before you can get tuition. So we got to figure out the wording on that
Mhm.
because if you don't hire the person, what holds the person here?
I would think it'd be maybe a 5-year program where
Yeah.
you wouldn't, forgive everything right at once. It's
Yeah.
over a period of time.
So still checking with what East Grand Forks is giving for retentions and Crookston's also given and hiring bonuses for sign-on. So Crookston's full at this time. I think East Grand Forks might be also, but anyways, I just want to let you know that. So,
Yeah, okay.
okay. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, concerns,
Keep up the good work.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sure. I'm good, thank you. Moving on, Mr. Sanders. We're ahead of schedule.
Wow. Okay. Good morning.
Scroll down.
Morning.
New chairman, that's why.
Well, why aren't you sitting over there then?
Because they haven't changed chairs yet.
Oh, wow. I'll see.
What about, is Lisa coming in?
Efficiency. You're making you're
Did we
outside
miss-
the box.
Did we miss Alicia Helms?
First, we're planning. So the last time I was here, we did resolutions for a trail from Maple Bay to the pavilion and for state grant funding. And now I'm doing a proposed trail from the pavilion to Mentor along the east side of 12 and hoping to get federal funds to do that through the ATP. And so I've gotten the okay to submit my application even though it's a little bit late. And so we have 2 resolutions that we need to approve. One stating that the county is okay doing the project, and the second saying that the county is going to operate and maintain the property because we're getting federal funds to do so. So I need approval for resolution 2025-06 and 2025-07.
And to be separate?
That's up to.
We'll take them separate. Motion to approve number 106.
So move.
Paul,
Second.
Joan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Number 2, the 07 to operate and maintain. Motion,
I'll move.
Warren,
Second.
Gary, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Next, you have the resolution for the city of Foston. They're applying for transportation alternative funds, which is the same one that we did from Maple Bay to the Pavilion. They're a city of less than 5,000, and therefore the county has to be the sponsoring agent and the fiscal agent. Basically, all the funds will run through our office. So I need approval for resolution 2025-08.
So moved.
Joan,
Second.
Paul seconds.
Do you know where this trail would?
It's tying in at the very north end of Foston in their new addition, basically.
Where the other one
Where
kind of
the-
ended?
Yeah,
Yeah, on that top.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a grand trail plan over there, and they're finishing it up. So if they've done anything well the last 5 or 7 years, this is one thing, is they get funding to build their trails. So
Mhm.
All in favor of that resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Approved.
believe this is the last thing. The city of East Grand Forks is again putting in a raise grant application for a planning grant for the Merrifield Bridge and possibly an intercity connect bridge. You've already approved the financing of the raise grant. They just need a letter of support from the county, and it's the typical letter of support for the planning grant. And so we will need to have someone sign the letter if you 5 approve it.
I would move approval. I would say too that it's a very well written letter, I thought.
It's
Is that
it's the same one that it's just
been through a few years of testing?
yeah, well, you'll probably see the same one on the 21st when we submit our raise grant for Neelsville, Hendrum, and Georgetown. So, along with a resolution as well.
Who's the best person to sign it then?
The chair.
Well, yeah,
The chair?
I would say yes. Last time you guys had me sign it, but I would prefer that either the chair or Mr. Whiting sign the letter. If you guys approve it, I'll run down to Ashley, have her add it, and then I'll bring it back for signature so I can take it with me.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
No, Warren.
Warren already do it.
Yeah, I did once, I guess.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion to approve,
And he did.
and all in favor of that motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you very much. I will be back shortly.
We'll take a 5-minute break, and I'm sorry I crossed off Alicia.
Well, that's all right. She wasn't scheduled until 8:55 anyway, but she's been down once. And
5-minute break, you said?
5-minute.
Yeah.
to order. Paul will be coming back shortly. Ms. Helms, I'm sorry, I inadvertently crossed you off, and
You know what? It's the new year. We're just getting started, so
There
we're
you go.
fine. We're fine.
go ahead.
All right, so I'm here today to request your approval of the collective bargaining agreement for the local 49ers solid waste management. This group was our last CBA out of 8 to pass and vote on this contract. So just as I have presented the 7 other CBA contracts, this one would be similar, just the same. They've agreed to the the COLA increases for 3.5% January 1st of 2025, 4.25% in January 1st of 2026, and a COLA increase of 5% January 1st of 2027. With that, they also agreed to Blue Cross Blue Shield as our healthcare provider for 2025. Our monthly contributions for 2025 will be $1,600 a month, $1,850 in 2026, and $2,100 in 2027. As well as just open enrollment, of course, is done and complete for all of our groups. And again, this is just the last group to officially vote and pass the CBA. So I'm here to request your approval.
I would move approval.
Second.
Gary and Joan on the motion. All in favor of approval,
I,
say aye. Opposed? Collective bargaining agreement passed.
and you get crossed off.
Thank you very much. Yes. Good for another 3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're ahead of schedule again.
Yeah, the bids should be on their way. Annalee was gonna grab them at 9 once it was closed.
I'm sorry.
The bids should be on their way down here. Annalee was grabbing them at 9. We had to accept until 9 a.m.
Okay.
But we can probably read them prior to 9:15, just because no more bids will be accepted now.
Or should we go to break again?
Or
Well, it depends on when he's ready. You can go to me if you want.
do some check stuff.
Let's move on to Mr. Whiting then.
A lot of items, a lot of paper there. Typically at the first meeting of the year, we set mileage, meals, and lodging reimbursement rates. I think since 2016, we started using the federal numbers for those things. We've always used the IRS mileage reimbursement rate. So the first item on the agenda to approve would be adopting the 2025 IRS mileage rate. It is 70 cents per mile. That's up 3 cents from 2024. So I'd ask for a motion to adopt that.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Gary,
Second,
Warren second. All in favor of the mileage reimbursement?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
The second item is to approve the federal reimbursement rate. And using federal figures, $68 a day with exclusions for certain areas, Duluth, Twin Cities, and Rochester in Minnesota. They also have figures if someone was to be out of state, depending on where they go. We won't list them all here today, but the motion requested would be to adopt the federal reimbursement rate, $68 a day.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Joan? Second?
Second.
Warren seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Lodging and meals approved.
Lodging is actually a separate one, and
Sorry.
it also depends on where in the state you are, and of course each state has its own numbers. The majority of overnight lodging is approved ahead of time and as part of county business. This really only applies if you are on county business and happen to get stuck someplace, which does happen occasionally, particularly in the winter, that you end up spending your own funds on a room. This is the rate that would be allowed for reimbursement from the county. $110 in general. Twin Cities, Duluth, Rochester, their own rates off to the right there. Look for a motion to adopt these.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Gary? Second?
Second.
Warren seconds. All in favor of approval? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Lodging approved.
The next item would be to consider amending the personnel manual regarding the tip policy. This is one of these things that society changes. For decades of my life, the norm was 15%. Now you can't even find that as an option when presented with a bill. So any number that the board would wish to go to from 15%, I've proposed 18% since that's the next one up, but it's not uncommon to see 20%. Depends on what you're all comfortable with. You've all done meals on conferences and so forth and been confronted with the reality of a gratuity at the end of the meal. So we won't change the policy unless the board says we ought to.
Can we approve a range?
What's that?
15 to 18 or?
I think that would be implied by whatever the number is. This would be the highest
Up to.
This
amount.
would be the limit.
The employee, the
Mhm.
commissioner would have the latitude to decide anything less than that.
Because I've run into some of them card readers where it's 20 or 25% and others have other you can manually put in, but a lot of them don't
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
It's
Mhm.
Yeah, I bought a coffee
Choice
this
of
morning
3.
and I was given the choice of 3 different levels of tip.
Mhm.
It's already a $7 cup of coffee.
And that's, I mean, yeah, because I had asked Chuck about this, because I mean, like 15% is almost non-existent anymore, and I mean, I could actually question about 20%, but
I'm comfortable with the 18
Yeah,
maximum.
I overcommitted on one of my meals. And
You'll
I'm
get
gonna deduct my claim by $2.97.
You're a generous man, Warren. I would move to approve the
18.
maximum 18% maximum, and if people are comfortable with 12 or 15, depending on the service, I guess that's our choices.
yeah.
I'll second.
all in favor of 18? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 18 it is.
It'll be amended as presented. The last item, as 2024 concluded, I had a conversation with UMC, who's worked with the Crookston Rotary Club on scholarships using ARPA money, American Rescue Plan funds. And after some discussion, kind of concluded that it might be time for the program to cease because of the way the academic years go and the dwindling amount of money, the scholarships and so forth. They still have a few students out there, but it looks like of the original amount, $32,400 is unused, and that will be returned to the county. The city of Fertile also had been approved by the board for $144,000 to 2022 to remodel the Agassiz Learning Center there. That project has not gotten off the ground, so those funds are uncommitted per the subrecipient agreement that was signed. They had until December 31st, but some communication with them, it just wasn't going to be ready. So like you did a couple meetings back, we need to allocate those funds as required by the end of 2024. So working with ABDO, came up and drafted this resolution to reallocate those two funds, which total $176,400 to the Sheriff's Department for wages. This would simply displace the tax dollars that were used to pay for wages last year. So it ends up being an accounting shift, but it does allow us to meet the requirements of having the funds committed by the end of 2024.
Sure. You need a motion?
Yes.
I so move.
Second,
Second,
Joan,
Joan.
all in favor of the
Aye.
resolution, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Opposed?
Okay. do you-
Motion passed.
Sam, are you ready, or should we go to Karen?
I have my stuff here. Yeah.
Okay.
Back to page 2. Mr.
Back to
Milby.
page 2. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
What we're going to be doing today is opening the bids for publication of the official newspaper for the county and the publisher of the delinquent tax list. From what I'm gathering here, we have received 3 bids. All right, so the first one will be from the Fertile Journal. Envelopes inside envelopes. Make sure I got it all. Okay, and the Fertile Journal for the official newspaper has bid $5 per column inch and $4.50 per column inch for the delinquent tax list. The next one is the Crookston Daily Times, or the Crookston Times. Crookston Times has bid $6.50 for the official newspaper per column inch, and $6.50 per column inch for the delinquent tax list as well. The final one is Macintosh Times, or Richards Publishing. They have bid $2.50 per column inch for the official newspaper and $2.50 per column inch for the delinquent tax list.
have to be two separate.
Yes, so what has been done in the past is taken the lowest bidder for the official newspaper first, and then moved on to the lowest for the delinquent tax
And
list.
the same
Second.
newspaper can't have both.
Correct.
Correct.
Question, I mean, we got Fertile, Crookston Times, and
Macintosh.
Macintosh Times. Unless you're a subscriber to those newspapers, you don't get that information. How does that work, and what's the legality, like for
So-
people in my district or East Grand Forks?
Right.
From
So we did offer it to every paper. I notified the exponent, they didn't bid. 13 towns did not bid, Erskine Echo did not bid. Those are the regional ones, or the local ones that we've reached out to. I'll also say that 90% of publications that I send out go to all of them, because we want to reach everybody in the county. This is just designating the official, so we have to publish here. If people want to look for our stuff, this is where it will be. This is where the minutes will be.
Minutes are also on the website,
Yeah.
but we're still required to do the newsprint.
Correct.
Mhm.
So if it's something pertaining to, say, your area, for me, can guarantee you we would post it in the exponent as well. We'd probably do the Crookston Times as well, because it's kind of overlapping in those areas, and then also in the official newspaper. So that's, but like I said, like for elections, it goes through every paper,
Sure.
all of that stuff.
That
So
makes sense. That's
it's just that we have to have one designated to.
Fulfilling our statutory requirements.
Yeah.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that.
but that's how my particular office runs, is we try to get them into every paper so everybody is notified. I can't speak for any other department, but that's how I do ours.
Thank you for the clarification.
Well, if we go with Macintosh, the primary newspaper, that's 250
Column inch,
Mhm.
yeah.
column inch, and then
I would second that motion.
and- and then the next one would be then Fertile was the next cheapest for 450 on the
Delinquent taxes.
delinquent taxes, and that was the next cheapest on the delinquent taxes
Correct.
side.
Correct.
That's my motion.
Well, they have to be separate.
But they have to be separate. Sorry.
So
We'll take the first motion first for approval. We had a motion and a second.
Yep.
For the Macintosh Times at $2.50 for the official newspaper.
Mhm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And moving on to the delinquent tax list.
Then it'd be Fertile at 415 inch.
correct.
Second,
Second.
Warren seconds. All in favor of Fertile at $4.50 for the delinquent tax list, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
Excellent. Okay, well,
So
I
have
think
our
Macintosh
minutes
Times
been
would have second guessing on there.
published in a more timely fashion now?
I don't get the bills or the notification that goes to the administrator's office.
Okay.
So
You don't know.
I haven't
Okay.
been following on the minutes.
Okay.
Would that, just thinking along those lines, Sam, would that be a good, because we had issues with that, what, a couple years ago?
Mhm.
That was with a different newspaper.
uh, To have, when they publish, to get an email confirmation to that effect from,
Ashley works that out with the newspaper.
okay,
We seek approval or authorization, verification of everything.
okay,
Okay.
thank you. Karen Warmack, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Four agenda items today. The first one is a social worker, child protection specialist replacement. We had a social worker resign from our agency, so I'm looking for board approval to fill a social worker, child protection specialist position and to fill any internal subsequent position vacancies occurring because of this action.
Motion,
So moved.
Joan first, second,
Second.
Gary second. All in favor of the request? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Request granted.
Thank you. Second agenda item is to fill an office support specialist position as a case aide position. We had an office support specialist resign in our East Grand Forks office. She was promoted to a social work position. She had a degree. We're requesting to hire the position as a case aide position to provide leadership, training, and support in our East Grand Forks Human Service Building front reception area. A case aide position can bill their time while working on waivered cases to add revenue to the agency. This is not an increase in the agency employee headcount to hire the position as a case aide. Our agency is responsible for providing office support duties for the 5 offices that are located in the Human Service Building: Career Force, Public Health, Tri-Valley Veterans Office, and Social Services. 2024, we averaged 733 people that came into the office monthly that our office support team needed to greet and determine what services were needed. The position of an office support specialist has high turnover, being an entry-level position to our agency that causes disruption for all of the 5 offices that are located in that building. So the turnover also requires frequent training to try to teach them what each office needs and what the duties are in that area. So hiring as a case aide position will provide stability of staff. In hiring the case aide position will allow our agency to bill for the case aide time to bring in revenue to cover the increase in salary for the position. So I'm requesting board approval to fill the position as a case aide position and any internal subsequent position vacancies occurring because of this action.
Motion to approve.
I'll make it.
Warren first, second,
Second.
Joan seconds. All in favor of the request, motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you. The next agenda item is the contract that we have with the Department of Human Services. They provide a contract to us for children's mental health respite care services. We're the fiscal host for Polk, Roseau, and Norman County. These funds are used to help reduce family stressors for eligible children and reduce the likelihood of further out-of-home placement. This year, our contract amount is $178,698, and it's effective from January 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. So I'm looking at board approval of that contract.
Motion to approve. I'll move. Second,
Second.
Gary seconds. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Contract approval passed.
Thank you.
Number 4.
All right, the last agenda item that I have today is the contract that we have with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council to assist with housing services in Polk County residents who are eligible. This contract includes outreach in the amount of $127,648 and purchase of services in the amount of $40,000. So I'm looking for board approval of the contract with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council not to exceed the amount of $167,648 for the calendar year of 2025.
This is where I run into problems trying to run the meeting and thinking of a question. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Joan first, second,
Second.
Warren second. Question I have is, explain on the, roll it back up, Karen. Purchase of services in the amount of $40,000, not to exceed the 167. So we're buying
Yeah, so the,
services?
we are using some of our state-funded grants that we have to contract with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council to hire staff to meet the needs of eligible residents in the community. And when it comes to housing, sometimes we need to assist with rent or damage deposits. And so that 40,000 purchase of services would cover that cost. And the total contract would not exceed that 167,640.
So the 40 is the difference between the 127 and
Yeah,
167, not to exceed. Okay,
thank you.
thank you. We had a motion and a second. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, that's all my agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
No, if I could just grab Gary and Joan as the finance committee briefly after the meeting, and then we can talk some more, Mark, about chairmanship going forward and
My resignation.
your resignation.
Definitely enough out of you.
I
all
also
the-
need somebody to give me their copy of whatever warrant.
Oh, here.
You have things for the that you want the other commissioners to see, please provide me, and I put it on the agenda, or I talk with you about when it should go on the agenda. That's basically the easiest, but if you bring it up
The one in
here,
your left hand.
it's in the packet.
And nothing else for the good of the order? I'll close the January 7th, 2020